Schmidt,
How do you do?
is it all right if I ask a question or two?
Sure.
Okay. There are a lot of people that feel like currently, I mean, with kind of current administration and also just over a period of, a lot of years, that, that we're kind of in a constitutional crisis. Do you think if we do have some kind of crisis, what do you feel right now currently is something that government is ignoring about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Do you feel that way, or do you see it that way, and if so, is there anything in particular on your mind?
Actually, I think the middle of an election is probably not a very good time to figure out the answer to a question like that, because the sort of where you stand depends on where you sit, and most people who support one candidate have a view that's completely different than people who are on the opposite side. So I frankly haven't given much thought to the question quite the way you ask it.
Okay.
And I think the country is probably best served by spending its energy trying to figure out which one of the two people that believes is best for its future.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it will kind of fall into place.
Okay. A lot of people, one problem with talking about the Constitution is a lot of people just aren't very educated about it. And that becomes even more so when you get into the state levels of the Constitution. And I'm curious because I believe it was Governor Daniels that commissioned yourself and former Governor Kernan on a panel that's, I suppose, become known as the Randall Shepard Report.
Yes.
And I'm curious if you feel if there's a couple, there's like 26 different points in it. I know some of them are good, and some of them is kind of a mixed bag. At least some people feel that way.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you felt, since it is an election season, do you feel that people will see it as a disenfranchisement of their voting right if we're having people appointed, like the clerk, the recorder, particularly the sheriff and the coroner, because of law jurisdiction boundaries and stuff? That sheriff has a very important role in enforcement. And so do you feel people will feel disenfranchised? And also, it's to streamline local government. And while I agree that we need limited government and smaller government, streamlining to me sounds more like centralization. And I think that will get us away from we the people, and it will become more of a top-down structure. How do you feel about that?
I think the key thing about the present government is that it's so complicated, and it has so many elected officials with relatively small assignments that the average citizen doesn't really have a very easy time figuring out how it all works, or who's the best person to elect as recorder or auditor, because we have 11,000 elected officials in a typical county. We have literally dozens, and I think that system actually makes it harder for the public to make its will known, and that's why we think having, if you will, a mayor for the county, whose job it is then to appoint people in the same way that the mayor of a city does, is in the abstract, I suppose, means the voters cast fewer votes, but I think they would have an easier time focusing in on who really can do this well and who will do it the way they want it done than they do in a system where there are dozens of names on the ballot and it's very hard to sort them out.
Sure. One last question. I know with the presentation that you gave, there was a term that I thought was interesting that you used in consideration to the Electoral College, and that term was that it was sort of an antiquated system. Do you feel that important? We have a great state constitution, I personally feel. It's certainly unique. And to streamline it, I think, would be to take a negative approach to some of the best things that we have in it, which is that it's so easy for people to get involved at the township levels. Do you feel that our current system in Indiana is antiquated, and if so, why?
Yeah, I don't think our Constitution is. I think the Constitution is actually in pretty good shape, and we recommend a few changes, but not very many. But the way in which we provide services, I do think, is antiquated. It's designed for a different era when the only way you got to the seat of government was by horseback, and the only way you learned things was by word of mouth or the weekly newspaper. So I think it really doesn't serve the public as well as it ought to.
All right, well, hey, it was great talking to you, it was good
Yeah.
meeting you,
Nice
and
to meet you.
take care.
Okay.
Thanks for giving all your time. I know you gotta get